At 3:42 a.m., I checked my wife's phone, and what I found ended our 26-year marriage, but it also
The
forced me
night
to
I opened
rebuild
my
my
wife
entire
Sarah's
life.
phone at 3:42, I wasn't looking for trouble. I thought I'd find a late-night work email or maybe a reminder for groceries. But what I found felt like the floor had just vanished from under me. Messages that started friendly had turned into secret meets. Smiles I believed were just for me were being given to strangers. Suddenly, the woman I had loved for 26 years felt like a stranger living in my own home. But the messages were just the beginning. Looking back, I realized Sarah had been different for months. She wore too much makeup for a simple trip to the store and bought new clothes she never wore around me. Her late-night work emails never quite added up. The small things had changed, too. She'd pull away from my hugs. Her laughter became rare. It felt like she was a million miles away, even when she was sitting right next to me on the couch. I tried to tell myself it was just work stress or that we were getting older. But deep down, I knew something was fundamentally wrong. The morning I hired Davis, a private investigator, I was torn apart by guilt and fear. But nothing could have prepared me for the moment he handed me that envelope. Inside were photos and notes that confirmed my worst fears. Sarah wasn't just emotionally distant. She had built an entirely different life, a secret one. And it wasn't the first time. When she came home that evening, I laid everything out on our dining table. She just stood there, frozen, speechless. And then it all came pouring out, her excuses, her hurt, her hidden struggles, and the years she claimed she felt invisible in our marriage. But no matter how many reasons she gave, the truth was she had stepped outside our marriage instead of talking to me. I thought that was the most painful part, but I was wrong. A few days later, I was upstairs packing a bag to get away for a bit, just to clear my head. That's when I heard our daughter's voices from downstairs. They weren't defending their mother. They were confessing. They had told her to explore something new, thinking it might somehow save a marriage they saw as already failing. They never imagined she would take their advice and twist it into something so destructive. They never thought it would hurt me. When I walked into their view, their faces fell. They tried to explain, to apologize, but my heart was too shattered to hear them. I just asked them to leave. For the first time in years, the old lake house felt like a true sanctuary. The quiet mornings by the shore, the long walks through the woods, the silence was a relief. But my escape was cut short by a phone call. Sarah was in the hospital. She had felt so overwhelmed by her choices that she'd spiraled into despair. Seeing her lying there so pale and fragile, my anger started to soften. She apologized over and over, handing me a letter with shaking hands. In the waiting room, I read her words. It was the story of a woman who had lost herself long before she made those choices. She owned her mistakes, she acknowledged the pain she'd caused, and she said that despite everything she had genuinely loved me, even if she had done it imperfectly. She didn't ask for forgiveness, only for understanding. It didn't fix anything, but it gave me a sense of clarity. In the weeks that followed, Sarah started to heal. She went to therapy, worked on herself, and began repairing her relationship with our daughters. And I slowly but surely started rebuilding my own life. Our marriage didn't survive, but we did. The divorce was quiet and respectful. We knew our story had simply reached its final chapter. Months later, I started rediscovering who I was without her. I picked up new hobbies, made new friends, and found a new home that felt like my own. My daughters and I found our way back to each other, carefully rebuilding our trust. Then one day, something shifted. I went on a simple lunch date with a kind woman who made me laugh, a real, genuine laugh for the first time in what felt like forever. My marriage ended, but my story didn't. Healing wasn't instant, but piece by piece I learned to breathe again. To forgive, to hope, and someday maybe even to love again. Because sometimes life breaks you down completely, but then it hands you the tools to rebuild. And I finally chose to rebuild. Thank you for listening.